and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I have kind of a fun, quirky art journaling process video for you. I received this Ethan Allen magazine in the mail with all of its beautiful furniture and layouts, and I decided that I want to use it in my art journaling. So what I plan to do is to cut out different furniture arrangements in this magazine and use them in my small art journal, and I'm going to use some different marbled paper and possibly some stencils and paint and create crazy colorful backgrounds and then place the nice serene furniture over the top of it. And I think it might end up being kind of a cool juxtaposition of the calm versus the wild and crazy. And I'm just kind of interested to see how it turns out. I always love using found objects or found pictures in my art journaling. So I'm looking forward to cutting this piece up that would have normally ended up in the trash because Ethan Allen is out of my price range. But that aside, I will put you on fast forward and we will get going and see how this experiment turns out. Starting with a quick time lapse of me cutting out all of the different furniture pieces that intrigued me, the different arrangements and settings. And I looked for pieces that I thought would look good in my art journal as far as whole pieces of furniture that I could cut out or ones that would look good against the edge of the page and that would fit on the page. And I cut out a bunch. I'm not going to use them all here, but I really like this idea and I think I'm going to have like a whole series of these. I for some reason it intrigues me. It might be too much HGTV. That might be my issue, but it was just, this was really fun for me to do. This is some marbled paper that my husband and I actually made together when we were in Italy. We took a Florentine marbled paper class from a small shop owner, and it was perhaps my favorite experience while we were there. I still have big dreams of starting a marbled paper company here in the United States, or maybe even just making some for myself and my friends because I think it's beautiful and the technique is wonderful and has been passed down for generations when you see it made the authentic way, not just screen printed over and over again. So this is some of the paper we've made. I've been kind of hoarding it, not wanting to use it, but again, I'm trying to really embrace using my supplies and enjoying them because that's why I have them. They aren't just for looking at. What I'm doing here is I've grabbed some StazOn ink and a gray, and I have these Brutus Monroe flower stamps that I picked up at the scrapbooking expo at the beginning of the summer, and I am in love with them. I want to use them on all the projects. It was a little bit more of an expensive stamp set, but I don't mind because these are such versatile stamps. What I'm doing is I'm going to just stamp a variety of these flowers all around the page in kind of these stripes. I'm going to have a stripe of the marbled paper and then a stripe of flowers that I plan on watercoloring. So I'll let you see as I kind of just work around the page. I'm not worrying about them overlapping or being too perfect of a stamp. It's just a fun technique and a chance for me to use a supply that I love without worrying about it being too perfect. As you can see, I started with the larger stamps and now I'm coming in with the smaller florals, and then I'll end with some leaves here to fill in some of the areas that are a little bit smaller. Again, I could have done masking and really made this solid, but I wanted this to just be a fun art journal project. You'll see in a few minutes my kids are around. It's summer and they are playing in their rooms right next to me. One of them even makes an appearance to show off his creation. And so this is just a quick project, something that I had fun doing, and I didn't want to fuss too much with perfection. I'm checking here to make sure that I've covered all the spots I want to cover. Again, I didn't have to do a solid page because I knew I wanted these stripes of this marbled paper, getting all my stamps settled. I like it like this. Part of me wants to go back and try it again and not add the watercolor, but I was all about watercolor and some metallic watercolor because if you know me, you know I love metallic watercolor. I'm using my Arteza water brush pen. I will link this in the info below, in the box below. This is a fun pen. It holds a lot of water, and it holds a lot of water in the actual brush. It's like a nylon brush, and I think they're really versatile, and I'm loving using them. With these particular metallic watercolors, you really have to have a lot of water to get them going. And I start off, this is going to be a messy watercolor. I just want a wash of color, and my favorite part of watercolor is just watching the colors mix together, and I think it's so relaxing and I enjoy doing it. Sometimes I have the patience to sit in watercolor really fine detail, and today was not that day. So you'll see me working through adding in some colors that are in that marbled paper and just being really messy, splashing color around. And I'll let you just watch me paint here a little bit and come back when I'm moving on to the next step. Like a bit of a hot mess, but remember, most of this is getting covered up with that marbled paper. As I start to dry it, I am going to come back with my water brush because I notice a few white places or places that missed color, and I'm going to use my water brush to just spread color a little bit more, fill in those spots. And again, this is supposed to be really loose, just kind of abstract. Yes, we have the stamping in the background, but I did it in gray on purpose because I wanted it to be light and airy and almost look like its own form of wallpaper, which is the whole idea for this series. I'm going to grab some of the metallic right here, and you use a lot of water, as much water as you can. Get some of that paint on the tip of your brush and just tap it around. The more water you use, the bigger drops you'll get. If there's less water, you'll get some fine drops, so it's fun to kind of play with that technique. As that's drying, I'm going to grab those Brutus Monroe stamps again. And this time I'm stamping them out on a piece of, oh, there he is. That's my Bradley showing you his Ninjago pictures. He wanted to come show them off for mommy. Back to what I was doing right here. These are stamps on this gray cardstock. And what I plan to do is cut them out and then use them kind of like as a break from the abstract in the back. And I like that I did the gray. If you've seen me, you know that I really like white and black florals and I use them all the time, but the gray here was an interesting technique and an interesting play on that, and the way it blends I think is really nice. So I go into time lapse here, I'm cutting out, and then the time lapse I accidentally left it on, so I cut out all these florals, and then you'll see me very quickly start to place some elements on the page before I realized that my time lapse was still going. So I'm adhering the marbled paper in my stripes right here, cutting off the edges, and then I'm gonna start placing my furniture pieces and my flowers to where I want them to go. I think it's a fun idea just playing with some magazines that you get in the mail. Why not use them? I think a lot of people, a lot of artists took a lot of effort to put these photo shoots together and create this beautiful furniture, and just because it's not paper crafting oriented doesn't mean we can't utilize it in our art. So I love appreciating other artists at work, even if it's not an art that I utilize. So I don't design furniture, but I think people that do have a great gift of creativity, and why not appreciate that in my own artwork. So I adhered these flowers down. I used my Tombow liquid adhesive because there's a lot going on underneath these flowers with the metallic paint, and I wasn't sure that my tape runner would really adhere. And my theory is in art journaling, sometimes the liquid adhesive works best. Plus this is actual cardstock, so I knew it would hold up. When I start to put these magazine pieces in here, I am going to use my tape runner because I don't want the liquid to warp the paper. You know when you use the Elmer's glue and you get those bumps on the paper? I didn't want that to happen. I wanted it to be smooth. So I'm going through very carefully with my tape runner, trying to get all these edges down so that I can adhere the furniture. And I just love thinking of, what if I just put on my walls whatever I wanted to put on my walls? What if I went crazy with floral wallpaper or marbled paper look? I think it's so fun to think about, and I don't know what it is about this project, but it intrigued me to no end. I loved it. So I got all my furniture adhered. I'm gonna put an outline around the furniture pieces so that they pop off a little bit more. I decided on this particular page to not create a floor for them to sit on, so they do appear as if they are just floating, but I just liked that technique. I loved the splash of color, and I didn't want to cover up any of these bright, happy colors. What is the most unusual thing that you have used in your art journaling or in your paper crafts? I've heard of people using mail flyers before. I loved using this magazine. There's been a few times where I found some vintage pieces, some tags, or some sewing patterns that I've used. But what's the strangest thing that you have used, or the most unusual thing, I guess I'd say? Let me know in the comments below. I love hearing ideas from other paper crafters. You all are some of the most creative people that I have encountered, and I've loved reading the comments on videos when people have new ideas or new takes on something that I've put out there. So just let me know. I'd be really interested to hear what you have utilized in the past. As I finish up the outlining, I'm trying to decide if I want to add a quote, and I decide to pull this ephemera piece out that says, "Make your dreams real," and it has a very cool holographic effect, and I think it's the perfect quote for this page because it's like a dream like sequence. It's the 12-year-old girl in me. If I could paint my walls any color I wanted to, I would go with this. It would be crazy and wild, and I love it. I'm grabbing more of this marbled paper because at this point I'm on a roll. So now we have a bonus art page, and I love the bright red and the aqua blue turquoise that is in this paper. And so I picked the most neutral couch that I could find that I wanted to pop against all of this brightness. And I'm adhering this paper down. I'm using the liquid adhesive. This is done on like a watercolor paper. At least it has some weight to it, and so I'm not really worried about the adhesive warping the pages. I've trimmed it down and I'm adhering it, and then you'll see me trim it further, trim off the excess. And I decided to cover the whole page because, as you can see on the back of this page, it says "Life Short," but that was done in black Sharpie and it did go through this paper somewhat, so I wanted to cover it up and I decided to just put a solid covering of this marbled paper. The cool thing about when you find these beautiful papers, you don't have to do crazy things to change them up. This is beautiful. I bought this scrap of paper in Italy and I wanted it because it was beautiful. So why put a bunch of things on top of it, but appreciate it as it is. I love beautiful paper. I am a collector of beautiful paper and I'm trying to be a user of beautiful paper as well. I pull my couch piece here and I notice that it has some carpet peeking through, and so I'm going to come through with my detail scissors and clip out as much of that carpet as I can so that the piece is standalone. And getting ready to adhere it on my paper, but I decide no, now I want a floor. Now I'm going to add a floor to this piece. And it's not going to be a typical floor, it's going to change up. So I'm drawing my line so I know where I want my floor to be. And I'm going to grab some metallic paint, and it is from the Handmade Modern section from Target, their acrylic line, and it's a metallic gold. I love it, and it actually is not completely opaque, which is super fun because as I spread it on, it might not pick it up on the camera, but you can still see the swirling patterns that are happening underneath. So it's like the pattern is continuing on to the floor of this crazy apartment or crazy home, but instead they decided to have the metallic floor. Can you imagine like a gold metallic floor? How fun. Not great with kids and dogs, I'm sure it would scratch, but how fun would that be? I think that's part of what intrigued me about this project. Like, if you could design your own space and it was allowed to be as outlandish or as crazy as you wanted, and you didn't have to worry about kids and pets and husbands and anything messing it up, then what would you do? And I just love that. I love the metallic floor. I love how it breaks up the pattern a little bit because that's a lot of color up there on top. I love how it breaks that up just a bit. Again, I'm using my tape runner here because I don't want the paper, that thin magazine paper, to warp with the liquid glue that I have. So I'm going through trying to get some of these little detailed sections. It's hard when you're doing a big piece. I'm wondering if I should have cut this ahead of time, but alas, it's too late. So I'm gonna try to cover the whole piece as best I can and to stick it on my page. And this one has to be lined up with the edge because you have this lamp over here that was cut off on the magazine page. And so I knew I needed to line this one up with the edge. But look how fun that turned out. Can you imagine that crazy wallpaper? And I found these two pieces of artwork hanging that I thought would be nice, this simple art against this crazy wallpaper, and adhering those down. And then I'm going to pull out some stamps and get ready to stamp a quote on this page. Using these Kingdom Alpha stamps from By the Well for God. If they are in stock, I will definitely link them below. And I always format my titles backwards. So I start with the last word and then stamp backwards through the title. I think it has something to do with my spatial reasoning and trying to make sure that I have enough room for what I want to do. And you'll see me at the last second, I even shift this over. I'm gonna center it right here. And the first words that I'm going to add are crazy out in this particular stamp. And then I'm going to use hand lettering, or let's just be honest, it's just my cursive. I don't really hand letter, I'm just writing in cursive here at the top of the paper. And I'm going to add the phrase, home is where we let our crazy out. I've done the cursive and I've added an arrow pointing to crazy, and I'm going to come back with my Sharpie to really make that arrow pop. And you'll also see me retrace the handwriting at the top because it's not very visible. I'm going to retrace it with a thicker pen, and in the end I'm also going to add some white Signo gel pen for some highlighting that makes it pop even more. What you see me doing here is messing with a bunch of different black pens, and I just have not found a black pen that I am in love with. My go-to is usually Micron black pens, and I have them in all the sizes, but I need some recommendations on a black pen that writes smoothly, that will add a cool look in a pretty bold line, I feel like. So if you have suggestions on a black pen that works in your art journaling, perhaps that writes on a little bit of a slicker surface, then I would really appreciate it. Let me know below, because I'm in search of the ultimate black pen, as I think most art journalers are. At this point, I have traced over it with my thicker black pen, and I'm coming back with my white Uniball Signo gel pen. That is the perfect white pen, and I use on all the things. I'm adding some highlights, and then I will also be adding some highlights to the arrow and to the words crazy and out. This is the point where some of my footage kind of mysteriously disappears. I'm not sure what happened, but after I finished doing the highlights over on the right side of this art journal entry, I want to add some interest over to the frames, and you'll see it in the final picture, but I kind of add some outrageous frames around that artwork that I think is a fun pop in the middle of all of that crazy. So again, let me know below, what is the most unusual thing that you have used in your art journaling? I'd love for some fun ideas to start happening down there to be shared in our community. I had a great time making these silly pages, and I think they were really inspirational to me, so I hope they were to you. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, consider hitting that subscribe button and also that bell notification button so you are among the first to know when a new video releases. I hope you have a great day, and as always, keep it creative.